Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for investing your time. Standing to my left is Jordan Kidd. He leads our product team at Alvys. FreightWorks built it from the ground up, and Tribe purchased it not long ago. We were incredibly fortunate to add Jordan to our team in 2023. My name's Matthew Moyer. I come from a broadcasting background, but have been in logistics for over a decade now. One of the best decisions I made. Incredibly grateful to be here as well. What we'd like to talk to you about is the tech stack. He worked with a couple of the legacy systems. I worked for one of the legacy systems. My director came over to Alvys about 8 months before I did. He did a screen share with me. It took me about 13 seconds to realize the path forward. And so that's just what Jordan and I are going to talk about today. Please do not hesitate to ask questions, stop us. It's more fun when it's kind of a free flow than just a harbor tour. Data entry. It's probably one of the most expensive things that we do. We don't think about it. But when we come on site with companies and we're doing business reviews and they really chop in and see how much time they're actually spending on data entry, I think it really opens eyes and surprises a lot of people. Our approach with our AI is very slow and methodical so that we make sure that we get it right. But this is one of the biggest areas for Alvys where we're really trying to solve for some of these needs. Somebody sends you a load tender, drag it, drop it, take your hands off the computer, count to about 3 or 4, and everything's built out for you. You can absolutely make edits to that on stop times and pickup times, things of that nature. But really, if everything has been ingested to your satisfaction, you assign a driver and off it goes. So that's with one load tender or 13 or 37 or ad nauseum. We have people that are getting quarterly, semi-annual, and annual contracts, ingesting it in through the AI, and then all they're having to do is assign their drivers at the right time. So we're really focused on that data entry, making that a process that doesn't include manual labor as much as we possibly can. Anything to add there?
Yeah, just to add, so obviously this industry, we're all used to archaic solutions such as EDI and so forth. And, you know, that's been a long discussed topic in the industry. Everyone's been, you know, saying that we need to move to API, and there's a lot of resistance and there's a lot of cost in doing so. This is one of the ways that we're using AI to work around, you know, the resistance to API or, you know, even EDI. And we've got folks that, you know, said, well, we need EDI set up with 5 partners, and they realized, well, we're getting PDFs of all these EDI tenders as well. So a stopgap solution is just drag the PDF in, let the AI read it, and create your loads. So we're trying to be very flexible to really streamline your operations. However they come to you, we can respond and equip you with the tools to, you know, not spend hours and hours in data entry and double entry and all that sort of thing. So, yep.
Okay.
Driver churn. So I'll go ahead and talk about this. How many carriers do we have in the room? All right, several. How many brokers? And then 3PLs, 4PLs? All right. So if you're a carrier, you really care about this. If you're a broker, you should care about this. And I'm a driver, so I definitely care about it. I actually still hold my CDL just so that I can continue to relate to those who actually move the freight in this country. But driver churn is a big problem for carriers, and there's a lot of root causes for this. No pay visibility, no communication, you know, wait times, missing home times, and then ultimately all of these problems lead to a lack of trust, an erosion of trust between drivers and the companies that they work for. And we all know about the turnover problem in this industry. So Alvys is addressing this by giving drivers just better visibility of what they're doing, what they're expected to be doing, where and when they're expected to be at a place, the instructions that we have in the TMS, surface those to the driver so the driver's not having to call dispatch line 4 times to get through just to get the pickup number that was in the TMS the whole time, right? So equipping drivers with the tools that they need on their phone or tablet or whatever they've got, and really streamlining the operations that way. And also working on communication. I think this is an area that has lagged really behind where it should be, whether it be text messages, phone calls, emails, or even native in-app messaging. These are all, critical for drivers to succeed, and we're paying attention to all of those things and really aiming to consolidate all that communication into a single place. And the last thing I'll mention about driver communication is, we're working on early proof of concept for ways to use AI phone agents. None of us love answering the telephone. We don't, manning the phones is a kind of tedious and painful and expensive process, right? And so what we're doing is where it's appropriate, adding in an AI agent to give the basic answers that a driver may need. And then if we don't have that answer readily available to the AI agent, then we can obviously pass it off to a human agent to continue the conversation. And one thing that I'm excited about is, I believe that if this is done well, the way we're looking at it is to give a warm handoff to the human agent so that the driver doesn't have to repeat themselves. All of the details that they just gave to the AI agent, those should be passed over to the human agent as well. So that's something definitely to think about, whether you're using Alvys or any other system. The end user should not have to fight the technology that you're using. It should be seamless, and if you're passing from one technology to another, if you're passing from a phone agent or an AI agent to a human agent, pass that context as well.
Add one thing.
Yeah.
And one other thing I'll add on the driver, for the app, we've got a couple of different options for them. If it's 3:15 in the morning and they need a lumper fee or some sort of an advance, it's a permission that is turned off that you could turn on, but you can either set a limit, $250 or under, and it will auto approve and send the com check number directly to their app at exactly the same time it lands in accounting. And so with the audit trail, you will always know exactly the day, the time to the second of when I requested $240 and it was auto approved. It stays in the load that I am currently on. So you can either set it as a numerical value or as a percentage of the line haul. If I'm on a $2,500 haul and I'm allowed to request up to 10%, same thing. Until I provide paperwork to prove that I had a $240 lumper fee, it counts against me as the driver. Once I provide that paperwork, then it gets added as an accessorial. No one at your company and no one at Alvys can ever remove or change that audit trail in any way. But it's really nice, 3:15 in the morning on a Saturday night / Sunday morning. I'm a couple hours from church. I do not want someone waking me up at that time of the day to request money from me. Very easy. If you don't want to turn that on, no problem. That number can still go directly to the driver app. It automatically lands in that load, automatically lands in accounting. But it's a way that we're trying to run towards making their lives just a little bit easier.
All right, so let's talk about accounting for a minute. With my background, I've had the opportunity to serve, to function just about every seat in a trucking and a brokerage operation. But the one that I refused to spend too much time in was accounting. It's just a lot of, copy and paste, audit, look, just a lot of data handling that's pretty monotonous. And so we are at Alvys, we are working with our customers and partners to get the, for example, one really important function is getting the days sales outstanding DSO, brought down from, in many cases, we're seeing average of 5-6 days, and bringing that down to, 24, 48 hours. When the load is delivered, bump that driver to scan the paperwork, and we're automatically correlating that right back to the load itself, right from the driver scan. There's not someone sitting in the back office that's actually taking a PDF or, monitoring some inbox and then like dragging those documents over to the right loads. We're doing that at the source, getting it right at the source. And then, just like Matthew was saying, getting providing the audit trail through, from quote to cash. You can see who touched the load, where the accessorials were added, where the e-checks were issued, all of that in one single stream, so that when you issue the invoice to your customer, you're invoicing for every dollar that is owed to you, and you're not having to issue multiple re-invoices and adjustments to your accounting ledgers and all of those things. So, the way we think about accounting, I know there's a lot of legacy TMSs that integrate accounting into their actual stack, and they make you use their accounting. But we found over the years that most CFOs and accountants really want the best-in-class accounting suites. Accounting, there's a lot of change that happens. There's a lot of flexibility that's needed, and it would be really hard for a logistics software provider to, stay up on the latest and greatest of all accounting needs. And so what we do is we integrate the accounting data all the way up into the point that we hand it off to best-in-class accounting systems like NetSuite and whatever you've got in your setup. And that way we are, providing the full audit trail up into the point that it's handed off, and then, really marrying the operational data, which is the source of your accounting information. And we handle all the operations and then pass it off to your accounting system. And really seeing a lot of efficiencies there. I was on site at one of our customers when we were going live, and I was training a whole room full of accounting people. And, I saw the look, once we got about an hour into it, I saw the look in their eyes, and they looked around the room, and they knew that some of these people were not going to be needed anymore. And I worked with their leadership to make sure that they were employed in some other role in the company. But, we were definitely cutting accounting teams down by sometimes 50, 75%. And hopefully those people are being reskilled to serve other roles within their operations. But, accounting should not require, a massive headcount. So dispatch and operations is fairly complex, and there's a lot of people needed there. So maybe some of your accounting folks can be repurposed to the more operational side of the business, and we've seen a lot of that happening. Anything else, Matt?
Well, just the documents are a capture and not a picture, and then you can adjust. Yeah, so for the driver app, when they're getting their paperwork back, our app is going to capture it. So they're not taking a picture of it. What's really nice about it is it's just seeing the outline of that document. So I'm not getting the hairy knees, and I'm not getting the flip-flops when I need PPO on. I'm not seeing the dog where I'm not supposed to have an animal on site. But then you have the ability to adjust the quality of that capture as well. But then with every single one of the customers that you're doing business with, the order that they want to receive that paperwork, Alvys will order that exactly for them. Whether it's the summary bill or just a straight one-for-one, it's going to get those documents in that correct order for you. Load planning, Jordan.
So this one's near and dear to my heart. And do we have any load planners in the room? Anyone responsible for assigning your assets? And you probably manage the people that are planning loads, right? And you're hoping that they're utilizing your assets in the best possible way. I spent the better part of a decade as either a load planner or managing load planners or director of operations that was, managing those who do plan the loads. And this is an area that we see a lot of potential for AI and modern technology to really streamline your operations and to really drive much higher efficiency of your assets and your drivers, your trucks, your trailers, your utilization rates for all those assets, and to better assign loads within your network. So I could go on about this for about 3 hours. I work on the product team, and so I'm directly responsible for building part of our load planning automation right now. And it's a really fun project because having worked in this space for the better part of a decade, there are hundreds and hundreds of variables that go into driver availability, truck availability, trailer availability, and locations of all of those assets against the parameters that you're given on a load. And then what if I split this load into multiple trips? And what if I relay this? And it's just not possible for a human, or it's not reasonable to have the number of humans required to run that detailed calculation to produce the actual optimal result for your entire network, right? So humans, we all get lazy, right? It's 4:30 p.m. on a Friday, and I still have 30 unassigned loads, and I've got 20 unassigned trucks or drivers, or however you look at it, and you're just going to start. You want to get out of there, right? It's been a long day. You're just going to start assigning things as best you can, and this is where we see the opportunity for AI specifically to crunch the complex calculations of distances and times and availability and costs, all your cost inputs and all of those things, and to produce a much more optimal network solution for your planning. And so there's a lot of parts to get this right. And so the first thing to look at is your data inputs and garbage in, garbage out. So if we look at the data inputs, are you correctly tracking your trucks, trailers, and drivers? Do you have your hours of service fully integrated with your TMS? Are you getting the detailed hours of service in your TMS, right? So are you just making a wild guess as to, well, this guy's 5 miles away, surely he can do it? Well, what if he's 3 hours short of being able to make that run, and you had a guy that was 12 miles away? That was the better pick, right? So there's a lot of dimensions that we compare these KPIs across. There's the driver aspect. So like, is this the best fit for a driver? Based on hours of service, availability, utilization, right? So drivers don't want to, if they've been on 3 short loads and they're supposed to be a long haul driver, well, what's their 7-day, rolling 7-day mileage average? Is it below target or above target? If this, other driver who might be closer to the load that you're looking at, he might have just come off of 3 back-to-back really sweet runs. And then he's in place for what is another sweet run. You've got the other guy that's sitting across town, maybe a few miles further away, but he's had 3 really bad runs, right? So we're taking all of those things into consideration, taking the kind of human bias out of the loop and crunching those numbers in the background. And this is a very, very intensive calculation. I mean, we're running computations that are just massive, and years ago would not have been possible. Because we're taking hundreds of variables and looking at them across hundreds or thousands of variables across hundreds or thousands of assets. And this is like a massive math problem, and I'm not smart enough to talk about the details of that, but I, definitely know what we're putting into it and what we're pulling out of it. And then we're surfacing to you the results of these computations, right? So we talked about the inputs. Then the parameters. Every company that every carrier that I've ever spoken to has different parameters for how they plan their trucks, right? Some people, all they care about is deadhead percentage. It's like, listen, I just got to keep that number below this, and everything else is good. Others talk about loads per week. If I just keep, over 3.5 loads per week on average per driver, then I'm good, and that is how I would say that's kind of the past generation of load planning has had to happen, right? We are humans. We can't do complex math across multiple dimensions and run these big matrices in our head to consider everything all at once. So we kind of abstract it to this, deadhead percentage. Well, if we just track that, then we'll be making the best assignment, right? Or loads per week, or miles per month, or whatever. Every company has a different heuristic that they kind of use, and that is the kind of necessary when you only have humans doing your load planning, right? Well, now that we have these much more advanced algorithms and AI in the loop, we can actually do the painful and tedious work of actually comparing every dimension for every load and trip assignment and tell you what the optimal solution is. So that's something that we're working on. I do have a little sneak peek of how this actually manifests in our UI.
Before you do that,
All right.
I want to just add one thing just to kind of give you a little bit of background because I think it's important. Our marketplace feature is a single pane of glass. DAT, Truck Stop, Uber Freight, and the Alvys network. Now you can opt in or out of that, but we do not charge for that. Marketplace is part of our base platform. We don't have modules, but we can have all of that information together in a single pane of glass. So as he's talking about what he's just about to show you and explain here, it's going across not only everything that you already have in your system in terms of your business, but then it's looking at DAT, Truck Stop, Uber Freight, the Alvys network, and we have more load boards being added all the time on the roadmap. So having all of those different points of reference to be able to pull into this, that's how we're getting this to be so powerful.
So let's take a look at what we've got here on the slide. Like I said, this is just a sneak peek of what is in development right now. And we are taking hundreds or thousands of trips. So we've got all these open trips here. They all have the parameters built in, for time and appointment requirements and all of the customer requirements that you have. We can even set priority on these. So if you prioritize, certain freight that cannot be missed, is maybe more sensitive. It could be high value. It could be perishable. It could be whatever you've got. We can set the priority accordingly. And then, like I say, we're taking our intelligence behind the scenes and gleaning from all of these trips what the best assignment for your fleet is in this moment. So we're looking at real-time truck location, right? So a lot of folks are out here providing, there's a lot of third parties that are trying to provide this like planning intelligence layer on top of someone else's TMS. And the problem with that is that the data is stale. They're not getting all of the data, right? So they're connecting through like maybe a public API, which is not really intended for this high frequency, real time, up to date, fully detailed metadata that we have on all the assets for your fleet. And then we're comparing KPIs, critical KPIs across, across the result set. And so we're producing suggestions for who is the best assignment for you for this trip. We look at, revenue per day, rate per mile, deadhead percentages, mileage averages, downtime between trips, hours of service availability, and so forth and so on. And this is just a subset of what we do have. Obviously, every fleet, like I said, cares about these things or thinks about these things a little bit differently and cares about certain metrics over others. So we allow you to customize your view, to set it up just the way that you want to look at the data and make the decisions based on what works best for you. There's something that's evolving in the world of technology that I've been observing, and it's the kind of gradient between full human control and full automation. And we believe that somewhere in the middle is the ideal mix, right? So just turning your entire network over to an AI and saying, hey, just assign all these trips. Whatever you think is best, based on maybe you throw in some parameters into your prompt, you're probably not going to be happy with the results, and your drivers definitely aren't going to be happy, and you're going to be, you're going to just skyrocket your driver turnover and all those other things, right? So we got to have a little bit more control, but full manual load planning is just, no one wants to do that anymore, right? So the idea here is that we suggest some options. You can add other options to the comparison. So this is not exactly interactive right now, but if you sign up with our sales team, you can get more detailed preview here. But so we allow you to say, well, I think that this guy down here, let's say Travis Felipe, was actually the better pick for this trip. And so I could just pin him, bring him up into the suggestion comparison, and you can compare the numbers side by side with our suggestions and see why your pick may or may not be better than ours, right? Maybe there's an hours of service conflict. Maybe there's a 7-day average mileage that he's just way over target and these guys were under. There could be any different dimension that you care about, and we give you the option to review these things together. So I believe that it's important to go with a solution that allows the right blend of autonomy and human control and review. And doing that in one interface is something that is challenging. It's hard. But it's something that we're committed to doing. And there's a lot of point solutions that do these types of things, but they require you to move between interfaces. So there's like I was talking about, third-party, planning intelligence providers that make you go out to their interface for this, and maybe you go out to another interface to source your loads and another interface to actually assign them, and you lose the context in between. Time passes, the data is not passed seamlessly between the different interfaces. So we're bringing all of this into one interface for you. And listen, I would have a few less gray hairs if I had this 10, 15 years ago, but I'm very excited for what we're doing these days. And so at the end, we will have questions, and you guys can ask, come up to the mic with those. Matthew?
Okay. So good news is we won't even come close to keeping you for 45 minutes, but scale freely. So adding an MC as a hybrid platform, you can have your asset side, your brokerage side. It's all together if you would like it, or you can separate it. Purchase a new brokerage, purchase a new asset company. As quickly as you can click add new, type in the MC number and the address and hit save. That's how quickly you've added a new company under your umbrella. Price does not change. That's just part of what we do. Connect instantly. Our EDI is native to our system. We do not need a third party to do it. And we have a team that all they do is manage that for you. And coming from one of the legacy systems, when you find out what the investment is, most people can't believe it. But that's just part of, I guess, as time moves forward, people are just getting that much better at it. The API, docs.alvys.com, is a public-facing website. It is incredibly comprehensive on what you can do with our API, and it is constantly evolving. Right now, it's going to show you what you can get out. Not too far from now, it will show you what you can put in as well. And we do not charge for the use of the API. There are currently over 120 integrations. We never charge for integrations. Had a company in the Detroit area a couple of weeks ago. tell us that in order to work for Stellantis and Ford and General Motors, that they needed 2 integrations we didn't have. It took 72 hours and they got 0 bill because it's going to benefit somebody else that works with those companies as well. And so if there's benefit there, why would you charge somebody for that? And then those clean financials, it's bidirectional. And we have a bucket that shows you, even if it's 1 penny, there's a discrepancy. And so we're running towards that for you. But we also have a discrepancy with all of your integrations. So you will have a dashboard to show you how your ELDs are performing, how your accounting sync is performing, so on and so forth. There's a dashboard to show you how all of those are operating, but then right next to it, Samsara or Triumph or Sage Intact, whatever it is, there's a nice little flag there for you. Green, yellow, red. So we're constantly running towards that as well. Help 24 hours a day to any member of your team that would like. We will never charge you for help. That was one of the most difficult discussions that I used to have.
I just want to say one more
Yes.
thing. Talking about the scaling freely and connecting, I think one of the huge efficiencies that we offer for you guys is, like Matthew was mentioning, multiple MC numbers in the same platform. That's something that can be done in a lot of different ways, but what Alvys does is pretty unique in that there's no copy and paste, there's no double entry between systems. So when you're deciding to move a load on your carrier assets or to broker it out, most systems out there will require you to copy and paste or double enter or, void void the order in the carrier side and add it to your brokerage side or vice versa. You've got accounting challenges there. You've got forward-looking reports that are always inaccurate because you've got 2 copies of every shipment or some subset of shipments are in 2 different systems. Or you're looking at a very complex EDI setup between your own systems. Who wants to do that, right? So what Alvys offers is 1 copy of every load, and you decide how you're going to handle that, and you can switch it back and forth between your divisions with just a click. And there are no inaccurate financials. That click is, you moved it from one side to the other. Everything is accurate, and that's something that I remember whole tracks of certain conferences this was like a topic of should we use EDI between our divisions? Is there a way to use API between our divisions? And it's like, no, you should not be doing any of those things. You should click a button and move a load from one side of your operation to another. And it's something that I believe is a real unlock for both carriers and brokers. When the carrier market is like it is, you might want to be brokering out more of that freight. And hopefully in 6 months or a year from now, when the carrier market turns around, you can broker less and put more on your carrier side. It's up to you how you grow. We want to enable you to win whether the market is up or down for carriers or for brokers. So we want to set you up for success regardless of market conditions.
Yeah, and speaking of the carrier, so whoever it is that you're using for your carrier monitoring, we'll integrate that. As your representatives select a carrier for a load, they get an instant pop-up right in the middle of the screen showing real-time information on the insurance and the accident records and all of that, so that you're picking a smart choice there. If it's a new carrier, no matter which one of those solutions you're using, when they fill out that packet, our AI reads it and automatically builds the carrier in there for you. If you pick up a new contract with a new company, the same way. You should not have to sit and do data entry. Let AI read it for you, proofread it, click yes, and off you go. In that instance that I provided where I drag and I drop the load tender, if it recognizes that it's a new company, You shouldn't have to back out, go to a company screen, create a new company. Our product team agreed. It'll recognize, it'll say in bright red, this is a new company, would you like to add? You click new, it reads it, make sure that it's all right, click save, and just keep going. It should not slow you down that way. It's a lot of fun, and it's, I think, a really good team. Jordan and I are incredibly grateful for you all investing your time with us today and would love to answer questions. If not, thank you and safe travels.
I think we have about 10 minutes for questions. Any questions? You can come to the mic, or if you're shy, you can just stay where you're seated. Yes?
What type of modes does it support? So if you wanted to rate against contracted rates or see what's better, LTL, truckload, parcels, does it support multiple modes? And is it mainly focused on domestic freight, or do you run any international through there at all?
Good questions. First of all, the modes, we primarily handle truckload in the middle mile. So we're primarily full truckload. We do have some partial truckload operations that are utilizing our systems. We're not fully supporting LTL yet. And then as to domestic versus international, we do some cross-border. We do not have multi-currency today, but we do cross-border shipments that are all in US dollars. Yep. Any other questions? Yes.
So how many of the TMSs across the space are kind of moving into the AI? Are most of the legacy kind of behind on this sort of stuff? Or what's the nature of this market space for TMS?
Well, if I've heard anything this week, it's that everyone, regardless of who you are, you're moving into AI. Now, the question is, what does that actually mean? And so you mentioned legacy providers, legacy TMSs. Yes, we're all looking at AI, but the more legacy your core infrastructure, the harder it is to make that move. And the longer it takes, and the more investment, the more risk, the more delays, the lower the value, et cetera, and on down the line. We're built on modern cloud infrastructure, which is purpose-built for this type of application. We are testing internally new AI features left and right, and it's very easy for us to do so. And then we, prove the value and then bring them to market when it makes sense. So, yeah, everybody's working on AI. The question is how well they're set up for success. And typically, the legacy providers are just not on a level of infrastructure that's going to allow that to happen quickly or easily, or even to provide that same value. Any other questions? All righty. Well, hopefully you guys found that somewhat informative. Maybe you had a note or two to take away, and I'll hang around for a few more minutes if anyone wants to talk off the mic. Thanks for coming today.